As a story back many years ago when I needed a job. Of course, I worked at Earl Scheib for a week. I think this was actually before or after I worked there. I don't remember. It was right around the same time. And I walked into, and I saw it ad in the paper, said interview in person. And so I went down to 1 day paint and body and didn't know anything really about what they do. I just thought, man, I need a job. I just want to make some money. And so I go into 1 day paint and body, and they needed a spot repair painter or something like that, I think it was. And I said, yeah, I could do the job. And the guy talked to him about background, and he says, okay, well, all right, then, hey, I'll have you start tomorrow. But while I was there, I was watching what was going on in the main shop. So this was in Costa Mesa, and so from the street, if you were looking to the right, there was the body shop, and if you look to the left, this is about 1986. The second building over didn't have any name on it, and that was the spot repair shop. So they were two separate shops, and one was busy and one wasn't. So I went into the main body shop, and I looked in the main body shop, and I said, hey, how does this work and stuff? And I see this girl masking, and she's just going at it. I mean, she'd mask a whole car off in 15 minutes, the whole thing perfectly masked. I mean, they were doing a paint job for $149 or $159 baseline paint job back then. So I was like, wow, how do they make any money? Well, I figured that out pretty quickly. It's cheap labor and make you work your ass off. So, so I go, okay. So I was talking to the guy. Well, how does this thing work? And he goes, well, our main painter, he paints one car every 20 minutes to 40 minutes. And I'm like, holy crap! I'm used to spending about 2 hours, dusting the car down with a tack rag, mixing your material, getting the color you're going to make. Usually you had to make a little, do some stuff and tweak the color to get it the way it was supposed to be. Didn't just open a can up. And then spray the car out, and you do them 20 minutes to 40 minutes. And that's 8 to 12 cars a day. And I was just like, holy crap. How do you do 8 to 12 cars a day? I mean, and get the work done. So I'm looking at this guy, and I'm just going, wow, all right, okay, well. And I said, well, I can start now. And he goes, well, you can start tomorrow. Just start tomorrow, come on in. And it's kind of embarrassing going there. And I was like, man, I was really intimidated because I was like, I wasn't used to doing that kind of volume, And so back then they were using Western synthetic enamel. I don't even think they make it now. So these rules aren't going to apply to you guys today that are looking to get stuff done over there. Some stuff's okay, some isn't, it's hit and miss. But anyway, they go, okay, so, come back tomorrow. And so I go over to my area, and it's like I'm there all by myself. I'm like, well, where's my masking lady? He goes, oh, she's over there. That's for the production area. You're the spot painter. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm like, where's the mixing station? He goes, right there on the wall. And he points to a wall with all this used open paint. And I'm going, okay, well, don't you know how to scrap match? And I'm like, yeah, I do. I know how to scrap match. And he's like, okay, yeah, cool. And I'm like, oh man, this is going to be fun. So I'm like, so how many different, I don't know that much about Western synthetic enamel at that time. I wasn't doing that. Wouldn't use that material. It was cheap stuff. And it only lasted about a year. So I'd use, acrylic enamel is what I was using back then. Acrylic enamel, and stuff like that. And lacquer, for base and stuff like that. And the shooting clear, urethane clear. That was the kind of the way that we did things back then. So I go and I grab the paint, and I match this it was like a Ford Ranger, I guess. Ranger, yeah. Or what's the SUV one? The Bronco 2. And it came in and it had like the drip rails around the edge, like this part were nicked up or something. Like maybe they did it when they were doing it. It was like a beer bottle brown, and I had to match the color of this brown with this. And there's no brown paint up there, so I'm like going, oh yeah, I know, okay. So I need to use gold and red, or no, gold and black and a little bit of red. So I make the brown, and he's like, oh, well, it's a little bit black. And I'm like, yeah, I guess it is a little. I mean, and he goes, oh, well, but it'll work. You can get a little bit closer to the next one. And I'm like, holy crap, you're that picky too? And you want it like perfect? And everybody's coming here and spending, $150 for a paint job, and they're wanting it, expecting it like that. It's like, dude, man, it's like crazy. So, I did a couple of spots. And then, like I said, I'd never used this material before in my life. I'd never used synthetic enamel, and I just didn't really know how to spray this stuff. And basically, with the synthetic enamel, man, you just turn the volume up as high as you can, get the biggest mist you can, and just go super fast and just keep going. You don't have to, wait between coats or anything. You just kept building it until it was smooth, and then you're done. So you could go over this panel. You just go over this whole thing, go around the whole car. You come back, you just hit the second coat or whatever, and usually 2 coats to 3 coats, and it would be covered. And if you had your stuff turned up high enough, it would come out really smooth. So I wasn't really sure of gun settings. I didn't know how to work it, and so I get this car in. The next thing I get in is this car. I mean, it's this color that's like, it was a Ford Fairlane 2, I think. The smaller one. Or no, not Fairlane. LTD 2, I think. And that was the car that was the smaller version of the LTD. And it was, about 80s, early 80s, 82 or something like that. And so it's this color that's like, I guess it's bronze, but it was like orange, brown, and green mixed together. I don't know, this really ugly, ugly, ugly color. And of course, again, there's nothing on the wall that's even close. So I start mixing stuff up. I'm like, how do I make this color? How do I make something this ugly? So I'm looking up on the wall, and I grab different stuff, and I finally, I open up the door, and the door jambs the cleanest part, and everything's already sanded. They didn't mask anything. I had to mask the whole car up by myself. This was the end of the day. It's about 3 o'clock. This thing comes over to me, and I'm like I'm checking the color. Finally, after about an hour, I get the color, and I'm like, hey, that's pretty close. That's about it. We're not looking for 100%. We're just, painting the whole car. So different deal than the spot paint. So fire up the spray gun. I'm ready to tack it down. I go start spraying it. And I start spraying this thing, and I'll get all done. I'm like, oh, well, looks like it'll be all right, and then I kind of get done. I kind of cleaning up my gun. I go back and look at the car, and I just see the runs just coming down. I'm just going, oh my God. And the runs are falling down, man. And I'm going, oh man. I start looking. I'm going, man, it's like 4:30. The guys already came over and said, hey man, when are you going to leave? It's time to go home. And I'm going, I really need to get some tape out and start peeling these things off and everything else. And after all the slave driving stuff and everything else, I just go, you know what? I'm out of here. So there's just all these runs, man. I mean, seriously, there's this ugly looking orangey brown color car, and there's runs just falling down all the way around. They're just giant curtains everywhere. And I just said, I never even went back to get my check. I was like, yeah, this place is like a total slave driver. It was like $8 an hour, and you had to bust your ass all day long. And I mean, that's the only way they could make any money when they're charging $150 to paint a car. You know, the manager had to get his money. So anyway, I just thought it was pretty, that's the old one day. It's a slave driver in place. That's the way they used to be. That's how they made money back in the old days, is just basically slave driving, So, if you're, it's probably not that way now. I'm sure that the business model is pretty much the same as far as, but they're owned by Mako now. So if you think that you're going to get a good deal one day, you're going to get what you pay for, So some of those one days, though, I've seen some stuff come out of there. My friend pays $800, and he had a bus to paint it there, and it didn't look terrible. It didn't look great, but it didn't look terrible. It didn't look like just like somebody spray canned it in their garage, but it didn't look like this, And this bus isn't that great. This thing's okay, but it's not. It didn't look like this at all. It wasn't this smooth. The paint finish wasn't like that. It was. This was never color sanded, or this was never color sanded. I just buffed this. That's it. So it was never. It was never smooth. Really, it wasn't really smooth, and you just. And there's a couple runs in it and stuff like that. The corners and stuff like that. It was so. Anyway, but yeah, that's my experience with one day paint body. It wasn't the greatest thing. It was a really hard job, and they were slave drivers, and I just bailed. Told them. I didn't even go back or call them or anything, go to pick up my check. Just left it there. Worked 8 hours for free. And I said, no, it's too embarrassing. I'm not going back. I'm out of here. All right, talk to you in the next video. Not every paint job comes out perfect, guys. Everybody has a bad day. And I just didn't know the material. It was stuff that I'd never used before. And I think I let it dry between coats, and I should have, or let it dry too much, and then I was burying it the next one instead of just keep it rolling, keep it wet. You never let that stuff set. You just keep going and going and going, and then you just stop at the end. You're done. All right. That's the old synthetic enamel Western High Glow. Talk to you in the next video.